Ahí estamos online, estamos con Michael Kiske de Helloween. Hello, Michael, welcome to Radio Futuro.
Hello. How are you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Hot. It's hot here. Unusual, almost like South America.
Good. Well, things will be hot here too in October.
Right.
You will be playing here with Hammerfall. So let's talk about it. First of all, how do you feel about coming to this side of the world once again?
That's amazing. I mean, that was actually the last show we did before the madness broke loose was Rock in Rio. It was the very last show we played. It was the end of 2019. We played before Iron Maiden. Me and Andy were almost missing the show because we couldn't get to the gig. It was so crowded. We had like 3 hours planned in, even though it was like 20 minutes away. It took 3 hours to get to the gig. And there was one smart ass security guy who just didn't let us in to the artist entrance. So we had to take the long path, to get in. And we couldn't have made it. So we went out of the car and we went by foot with the security guy. We just jumped into the stage clothes and on the stage and had a great show. It was great fun, but that was the last thing we did before the pandemic, So South America was the last gig. I love South America because it is always like the audience is always very passionate, It's beautiful, South America. I mean, every band loves to go there. Everybody says that, but it is true. It's like it's almost like a religion to people there. It's like they take it very deeply into their hearts, the music.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, I will be translating into Spanish all your answers for everybody to understand, okay?
All right.
Lo que nos dice ahí Michael al principio, las sensaciones sobre volver acá a este rincón del mundo. Dice que está fascinado, por supuesto, que Sudamérica fue de hecho el último lugar donde estuvieron antes que se fuera todo el mundo a las pailas con la pandemia. Rock in Rio, esa fue la última cita que tuvieron. ¿Se acuerdan de algunas cosas como lo que se demoraban en llegar al lugar para tocar? Ustedes saben que allá en Río son muchos tiempos de traslado, así que contaba ahí algunas anécdotas al respecto y lo feliz que lo tiene de volver a un lugar donde el público es tan apasionado, que dice que es algo que todos comentan, pero que es verdad finalmente que los artistas lo sienten muy así de cerca. Y esta va a ser la oportunidad, por supuesto, de poder ver en vivo el material de su último disco, el disco homónimo de 2021. Queremos hablar de eso también. Well, Michael, this will be the opportunity to see live the songs from your last album, the Helloween album released last year. A very important release. People were expecting for this for almost 30 years since the first Keeper of the Seven Keys album. So tell me about your feelings. How do you feel with this album and with all the response of the album?
That was pretty unexpected. I mean, I was expecting it to do good, but it was like perfect. It was like it is very difficult for you when you're involved in an album to have an objective view. At what you're doing, you just do what you do, and you always try to make the best out of every song, and obviously the spirit within the band is very good, which helps. But you never know how people hear it, So the best thing you can do is fade it all out, not thinking about it, and just trying to make every song exciting for yourself. That's the best thing you can do. The less you think about success or how critics might see it, the better for the album. It's not easy, but you got to have that discipline to kind of fade it out and not letting that get to you. I was surprised how well it was received, but of course it was a very welcomed motivation, especially last year. And we released it right in the middle of the whole pandemic crap, and that was a positive lift to do the interviews and to see how people reacted to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was the big challenge, right? Even if you don't listen to what all the people say, you as an artist, as a person, you want to do a very good work, at least at the same level or even better than the classic albums,
yeah.
Right? So how difficult was that to be in that challenge?
Well, like I said, it destroys you if you're trying to fake like the past records. You can't do that. It's a different band, different time. The whole band today, we're all different. We either, I mean, some people are completely new and others are just a lot older. We're not the same people as we were in the 80s. So it's the most stupid thing you can do to try to emulate, those records. And we didn't do that. It's like when Kai writes a song, he has his own style, and Mikey has his own style. So does Andy, have his own songwriting style and stuff like that. And that's the way things naturally come to life. Of course, when you have a song that somehow reminds you of something, you might emphasize it a little or whatever. You might produce it in a way, oh yeah, that sounds a little like that, but you can't write songs like that. It just doesn't work. You just let it happen. And you can easily fail, but as I said, the less you think about it, and the less you're trying to emulate something, and the more you let something naturally evolve, the better it is. It's difficult. A lot of musicians fail in that sense. They let all the stuff go to their heads. Especially when they have been very successful with something, it's such a difficult thing. You need to have a strong spiritual sort of backbone, to kind of knock it off. Even now, when it comes to touring and success, just refusing to set myself under pressure, trying to be good. The more you try to be good, the more you're going to suck, I'm always best on stage when I don't care if they love me, when I enjoy it. When I enjoy the gig, that's when the audience can enjoy it. So the less you fake anything on stage, or you're trying to catch sympathies and stuff like that, the less you do that stuff, that's my experience, the better it's going to be. I mean, a good example was the last show that I did. I had Corona and it was fucking up my voice. So I said, it's going to be bad anyway. So I went on stage and I didn't care, but the audience loved that. They love that. You kind of, when you have that coolness and stuff like that. So the show was great, even though I was struggling with certain tones because I had that stupid virus in my body. It was still a good show,
Yeah, because you got a great band at your back too.
Exactly. And we switched lead vocals. We had Kai and Andy singing Future World, for instance. That's a great thing, having actually 3 vocalists.
Ok. A ver, resumiendo un poco lo que contaba, las sensaciones sobre el disco nuevo, el homónimo de 2021, dice que sí, salió todo perfecto, un tremendo disco que lo dejó muy contento, y la respuesta también de la gente. Y 3 cosas bien importantes sobre toda la expectativa que había, que fuera como los discos clásicos, los Keeper of the Seven Keys. Dice que ellos se pusieron como en una especie de bloqueo de tratar de no escuchar lo que decía la gente, sino que tratar de ellos hacer un buen trabajo. Dice también que no querían emular, tratar de hacer un disco clásico como los Keepers, que eso sería bien absurdo porque, claro, han pasado 30 años, nada es lo mismo, así que por supuesto iba a tener otras características, pero manteniendo la esencia. Y lo último, un enfoque personal, que él dice que mientras más trata uno mismo de que tengo que hacer algo bueno, es cuando más salen las cosas malas. Así que se trata simplemente, según él, de pasarlo bien, en este caso de la gira, salir al escenario, darlo todo y pasarlo bien, tal como lo pasa bien el público. Citaba ahí el último show que dio hace poco, en que todavía tenía algunas consecuencias por el coronavirus, por lo tanto la voz no estaba muy bien, pero dijo ya, al carajo, lo pasó bien y el show salió fantástico finalmente. Así que de eso se trata. Otro gran desafío del disco nuevo fue complementarse con Andy Deris. Esto de los 2 cantantes es una novedad, por supuesto, que claro, ya lo venían trabajando desde la gira. Queremos saber esas impresiones también. Well, Michael, another big challenge of all this process that you started with the reunion tour was this thing of the 2 vocalists. You had to work along with Andy. It was something new for everybody. So how was that? It's a new way of work, a new form to work together.
It was actually great. It was very easy. I thought it might have. I was kind of expecting it to be difficult, but it wasn't, because there was no ego fights going on between me and Andy, and we were just there on Tenerife, meeting up like almost every day, and we just had, before we started recording, we had Dennis Ward making a rough draft of what he thinks could work in terms of splitting. This sounds like Andy, this sounds a bit like Michael, and that was how we approached it. So it's like it was some kind of a draft of how we could do it, but it was nothing written in stone. So when one day I came to the studio, and the evening before, Andy was recording something, or had recorded something, and he wasn't feeling so happy with it. He came, said, I was trying this and that, and maybe you should give it a try too. Maybe you should give it a try. And then we figured out what sounded the best for the song, because, there are a whole bunch of songs where you can hear right away, that's an Andy Darius song, that he should sing that, or that's the typical Kiske song, that sounds great. When it's like Angels, for instance, it was very clear that I was mostly a Kiske song, and Sasha had written it with my voice in his head. But there are other songs, especially when Andy writes his own song, usually it sounds best when he does it, unless he wrote it with my voice in his head, like he did with Fear of the Falling. Fear of the Falling, he was writing it, with both singers in his mind, and that works out. But it was very easy, because you just try it out, and you very quickly hear what works best. And I would say 70% of the time, we knew before that would be sounding better with him, or that would be sounding better with me, or even with Kai. There were even spots where we thought he should do it,
That's right. Actually, you got 3 vocalists.
Yeah.
I said 2, but yeah, there are 3. Bien, nos contaba ahí sobre esto de tener más de un vocalista en la banda, trabajar con Andy Darius, con Kai Hansen, que también son vocalistas. Dice que fue bastante fácil finalmente, porque no hubo ninguna disputa de egos ni nada, que encontraron una forma de trabajar que fluyó bastante bien a la hora de armar las canciones, de decidir qué partes iba a cantar cada uno, como que sabían inmediatamente qué parte era más para Andy, más para Michael, para quien fuera. Así que la cosa fluyó bastante bien. Citaba ahí algunas canciones, cómo las hicieron, así que ha salido bastante bien esto de los 3 vocalistas que tiene ahora Helloween. Mencionaba hace instantes nuestro amigo Michael esto de que es todo distinto de los Keeper of the Seven Keys. Han pasado 30 años, el grupo es distinto, el mundo es distinto, así que queremos saber también cómo perciben la actualidad, un poco cómo es el power metal también ahora, que es algo que Helloween ayudó a construir. Well, Michael, you said a few seconds ago that the world is different right now. 30 years have passed since the first Keeper of the Seven Keys albums. The band is different, the world is different, and the power metal scene is different. I want to know, how do you see what's going on right now with the power metal scene? That it's a scene that Helloween helped to build, right?
What I've noticed is, I can only mainly talk about Europe. That's where I'm living. It's like a lot of the new stuff that especially in Germany here, you have a lot of this German rap, the young people, and it's very negative, and it's very it glorifies a criminal, like being a criminal and stuff like that. And I don't know how it is in other countries, but I've seen. I'm watching a YouTube channel from the singer of the Darkness, Justin Hawkins.
Justin Hawkins, right?
Yeah, I love him. It's a very cool channel. I actually bought some Darkness CDs just because of this channel, because I think he's just a cool guy. But he had one of the videos where he was actually referring to an article that the people who do these sort of researches, what is successful, what type of music lingers on, what type of music is quickly forgotten, and they figured out that new music is forgotten in 2 years, and no one cares, and they don't sell it more. But the old music is sort of coming back. It's like people are kind of looking into the 80s, 90s, 70s, and rediscover the great music of that time, which I find very, very interesting, because that's the time where I grew up, and I was lucky, to be a teenager in the 80s, where music was exploding. It's like on every corner you had great bands and stuff, and it's funny to see that old music from the 80s, 70s, and 90s still sell better and longer than most of the new stuff today, which is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of revivals going on all the time.
Yeah. They just haven't really, there is some good stuff here and there. I don't want to put it all down, but when it comes to those bands like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or The Who or like all those great metal bands of the 80s, I don't see a lot of that happening right now. You know, there's not much going on, is there?
Bien, nos entregaba un punto de vista interesante, Michael, sobre la música actual, algo que vio hace poco en el canal de YouTube de Justin Hawkins, el vocalista de Darkness, una reflexión sobre la música que ocurre ahora, que dice que finalmente es una música de muy corto alcance, muy corto plazo, que a lo mejor en un par de años se olvida, a diferencia de la música más clásica de hace décadas atrás, que todavía se escucha, que todavía es exitosa, que todavía vende mucho, quizás a la par o incluso más que la música nueva. Así que es un fenómeno que le llama bastante la atención y que tiene que ver también con Helloween, que es una banda de larga trayectoria. Ya que estamos hablando de recuerdos, queremos hablar también cómo recuerda también esos locos primeros años en Helloween. En Chile era bastante joven y desató todo un fenómeno. Michael, let's talk about
Rammstein. Even a band like Rammstein, they're around for a long time, aren't they? How long do they exist? Do you know that? I think they're from the 90s, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe a bit before.
Yeah.
From the 80s, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, but they're like monsters.
Sí, lo menciona el rap, que es un estilo claro que está pegando mucho ahora. So Michael, we were talking about the memories. I want to know your memories from your first years in Helloween 30 years ago when you entered the band, and you were very young. You had 18 years, 19 years or something. You were just a kid, and the albums made a huge impact. You went on tour, you played in Donington with Iron Maiden in front of a massive crowd of maniacs. So it was everything very crazy. I don't know. What do you remember from those years?
It was a dream come true. I started with Elvis when I was like 9 years old, and I got into Elvis. But when I got into that type of music, I think I was 13 or 14, I really got into, especially Iron Maiden. It started with the Scorpions, and I always loved the Scorpions of that phase. But my biggest record was Number of the Beast from Iron Maiden and Screaming for Vengeance from Judas Priest. I mean, these two bands were like the most important for me. And I loved Metallica, like Kill 'Em All. I was one of the first people who were discovering Metallica. So it's like when you start as a fan. I mean, I was still in school when they did Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. And then I did my own band, and I wanted to do that type of music, and I wanted to sing like that and stuff. You know, how you start, you know, this is just the way it goes. You are excited about something, and you figure it out for yourself. And it's a total dream come true. Then when then later on you have the same management. I remember that I was watching tennis with Bruce Dickinson in England. You know, we were sitting there in a room watching Boris Becker play tennis, you know. This is stuff you wouldn't think of. Or it's like I still remember that I was at an Iron Maiden concert when I was still in school, and I remember that Adrian Smith. I was on the first row, and Adrian Smith threw one of his red wristbands to me, and I caught it. And I had it on my wall for a while. And the next day I had to do exams, and a couple of years later, after the Helloween phase, I was doing an album with him. You know, I was in his house, we were writing a song, and I told him that story, you know, that I caught this band and stuff. I want to have it back by now, you know. But it's like these things are, especially when you're young, when you grow older, you don't lose the excitement for people you admired, but you lose the glorifying stuff. You know, you grow up and you know that they're just human beings, but you have a much purer and a much clearer admiration for what they have done. I mean, Bruce Dickinson, for instance, to me, he was like from another planet when he showed up. You know, Number of the Beast, the singing, you can't do that any better. You know, this is just so powerful and energetic, and he was like he made such a strong impact on me. You know, I was such an Iron Maiden fan, and it was a dream come true. I was still in that fan phase, and then I started to do my own stuff with Helloween, and then I was able to I met all the guys that I grew up with admiring. That's wonderful. You know, I have only great memories, especially the first 2-3 years in Helloween. It was just a blast. It was just amazing.
Like a dream come true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Bien, recuerdos ahí de los inicios de Michael Kiske cuando entró a Helloween, que era muy chico, tenía como 18 años, y recuerda sus inicios, dice que su primera banda las tuvo a los 13, 14 años, que los discos que más le causaron un impacto cuando todavía estaba en el colegio, álbumes como The Number of the Beast de Iron Maiden, Kill 'Em All de Metallica, fueron los que lo impulsaron a dedicarse un poco a esto, y algunos años después estaba justamente con Helloween, ya con toda la locura de los Keepers, tocando con Iron Maiden en Donington, conociendo a sus ídolos, a Bruce Dickinson. Recordaba cuando lo veía en concierto, que una vez lo vio jugando tenis incluso, y una anécdota que contaba de Adrian Smith, de que en un concierto una vez al final del show se sacó una de las muñequeras, la tiró al público y la agarró a él, y dice que todavía la tiene guardada en su pieza, y que una vez conoció después a Adrian Smith, le contó la anécdota, y que Adrian le decía, bueno, podrías devolver. Así que son cosas que finalmente que dan cuenta de toda esta locura que eran esos años de llegar a conocer a sus ídolos. Era como estaba viviendo el sueño, y que bueno, después de todo este tiempo se ven ahora con otra perspectiva, pero sin duda alucinante lo que vivía en esos años de los Keepers of the Seven Keys, la segunda mitad de los 80. Ya que estamos hablando de recuerdos, hablemos también de Chile, donde han tenido grandes experiencias. Well, Michael, we're talking about memories, and of course we know that you have great memories here in Santiago, in Chile. You played awesome shows with the first reunion tour. You played 2 gigs here on a theater, sold out, amazing. And then you came, and the next year playing on a full arena, bigger and spectacular, of course.
That was a good show. I remember that. It was a great show. Yeah. I remember the ocean of flashlights when we did Tail That Wasn't Right. Mm-hmm. There are even videos on Instagram where you see like these ocean of flashlights. That's pretty amazing, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you were surprised because of the response. I mean, the tour was successful everywhere, but maybe to find this was something overwhelming.
Yes, it is. You know, it is, and it's always something that inspires you to try even harder. You know, it's like. You don't just do it. I mean, when you do the music, you're trying to satisfy yourself. You're trying to be excited about the song you do, because that's the only thing you can do. And then you can hope that other people feel the same. But it's very disappointing when you do something and people hate it or whatever, or, you know, it gets put down or whatever. It can destroy you. You know, you need a lot of confidence to still stay on top of your game, even though you failed with an album or whatever, because in the end, I know it sounds pretty cliche, but it is very important that you keep your sacred area sacred and protect it, and you don't really do it for the success. You know, you need to have success, you need to pay your bills and all that, but you want to have success with a clear conscience. You know, you want to have success with something you love, with something you believe in. And there's nothing more beautiful than to succeed with something you love. And when you fail, you get into that spiral very easily. A lot of artists and bands get into that spiral that they doubt themselves, you know, and that they begin to trying to figure out what they should make differently and whatever. But you should always try to follow your heart no matter. But sometimes it's difficult. It's a constant fight, you know, with the demons.
Mm-hmm. Good. Bien, sí, primero recordaba por supuesto los shows en Chile, esto de la gira de reunión, que fueron tremendamente alucinantes, que todavía lo recuerda como algo muy impresionante, que los sorprendió un poco porque claro, la gira era exitosa y todo, pero siempre encontrar ese tipo de respuesta es algo que los impresiona. Después se tiraba una reflexión de que esto son como frutos de lo que ellos han trabajado para triunfar y sobre las distintas ideas del triunfo, del éxito, una cosa que a uno le vaya bien objetivamente, pero también hablaba de este otro sentido que es más personal, de lo que uno siente finalmente, que es que le vaya bien, que uno se sienta bien con lo que está haciendo, toda esta área sagrada que él indicaba que hay que respetar siempre y que tiene que ver un poco con esa idea. Ya no nos queda mucho tiempo, así que queremos hablar también un poco sobre lo que viene para el futuro con Helloween. Están en estas giras para después. Okay, Michael, you got this amazing new album. you are doing this successful tour. And what will come after all of this? Do you have new plans for the future, or maybe you're not thinking that already?
Yeah, we would like to make another album, but on this next album we want to extend a little. When we did the first record, we were kind of driven by the spirit. We were kind of driven by, Pumpkins United, We're at Peace Again. That has his own kind of flow, his own kind of energy, and that made the album. And I'm looking forward to see what we're going to do with the next album, if we manage to get there. I would love to extend, to even try out something like that. Was always something that we did. I mean, I'm probably not going to write any songs again because I think we have enough songwriters and they know better than me to write these type of songs. I might have an idea and then I will throw it in, and if they like it, we might do it. But I think the next record, it would be great if we can kind of extend on what we've done with the last one, I mean, I'm not talking about quality. That's very subjective, but creatively, creatively exploring a little.
Sí, bien, nos dice ahí que, claro, quieren hacer otro álbum, por supuesto, expandiendo las posibilidades que tiene ahora Helloween, que están siempre saliendo ideas, siempre saliendo cosas, que tienen bastante buenos compositores en el grupo, así que cosas va a haber, así que habrá mucho Helloween por delante. Ya nos va quedando nada más que la despedida, así que las palabras finales. Michael, our time is coming to an end, so finally, different words for your fans waiting for you here in Chile.
Yeah, since the pandemic came up and we did not know, nobody knew when we would be able to play again if the people would show up. That's why we teamed up. Hammerfall had the same idea. We don't know what's going to happen. Team up and see what's happening, whatever. So we have a little less time. So, and also we wanted to play a little bit of the new album. So we were cutting off a lot of the video stuff. So there won't be video breaks where the band's not playing. There is footage going on, but it will be more focused on the band playing. That's what's going to be different. It will be a lot more the band playing and not so much Rammstein. Okay, it's like.
Yes, good. Bien, sí, dicen ahí las palabras finales que vienen con todo, con Hammerfall. Van a estar el 4 de octubre en el Movistar Arena. Las entradas están por punto ticket y van a hacer un despliegue. Ahí nos contaba sobre el escenario muchísimo más intenso que las otras veces, así que no se lo pueden perder. Vamos llegando hasta acá. Thank you very much, Michael, for your time, and we will see you here.
Yeah, thank you, man.